From rising debt to failing infrastructure, some U.S. states are facing financial turmoil in 2025. With budget deficits mounting and essential services on the chopping block, these states are struggling to stay afloat. What went wrong, and how did these once thriving states end up in such dire financial straits? Today, we're diving into the 10 U.S. states going broke in 2025, exploring the factors behind their economic crises and what it could mean for their future. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more engaging content. Let's break it down. Number 10. Connecticut. Connecticut has long been a state of wealth and prestige, but its fiscal health tells a different story. The state faces a staggering $45 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, one of the highest per capita in the nation. Combined with a shrinking tax base, Connecticut is struggling to maintain its financial stability. High taxes have driven residents and businesses out of the state, reducing revenue streams. In 2025, the exodus continues, especially among young professionals seeking more affordable living elsewhere. This population decline compounds the state's budget woes, leaving fewer taxpayers to shoulder the burden. Public services are also taking a hit, with cuts to education and infrastructure projects becoming more common. The state's crumbling roads and bridges only add to its financial strain. Despite efforts to reform its budget, Connecticut remains trapped in a cycle of debt and dwindling resources. Corporate headquarters, once a stronghold in Connecticut, are also relocating to states with friendlier tax policies. This loss of economic power has further weakened the state's ability to recover. For residents, the future remains uncertain as the state grapples with tough financial decisions. Number 9. Illinois. Illinois is no stranger to financial troubles, and 2025 is shaping up to be another challenging year. With over $140 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, the state has one of the worst credit ratings in the country. Years of budget deficits and borrowing have left Illinois in a precarious position. The state's high taxes and rising cost of living are pushing residents out, with Illinois losing more population than almost any other state in recent years. This trend is expected to continue, further shrinking the tax base and adding to the state's woes. Chicago, in particular, is seeing significant outmigration. Education and public safety budgets have been slashed as the state struggles to meet its obligations. Public sector unions are clashing with lawmakers over pension reforms, leaving little room for compromise. For residents, this translates to reduced services and uncertainty about the future. Illinois' debt crisis has also deterred businesses from investing in the state. Without new economic growth, the state finds itself in a vicious cycle of borrowing to cover deficits. Efforts to attract businesses have been slow to produce results, leaving Illinois in financial limbo. Despite its challenges, Illinois continues to explore new revenue streams, including proposals for expanded gambling and recreational cannabis. However, these measures alone are unlikely to solve the state's deep-rooted fiscal problems. Number 8. New Jersey. New Jersey is facing a financial storm, with over $200 billion in total debt, including pensions, healthcare obligations, and bonds. The state's high taxes and skyrocketing property costs have driven residents to seek cheaper alternatives in neighboring states. This outmigration is shrinking the state's tax base and worsening its fiscal outlook. The state's pension system is a major culprit, with years of underfunding creating an unsustainable burden. In 2025, lawmakers are grappling with how to address this growing liability without further alienating residents and businesses. Proposed tax hikes have been met with fierce opposition. Infrastructure is another area of concern, with New Jersey's roads and transit systems requiring billions in repairs. Limited funds have left these projects on hold, frustrating commuters and residents alike. Public transportation in particular is seeing significant cuts. Businesses are also feeling the pinch, with New Jersey ranked as one of the least business-friendly states in the country. High corporate taxes and bureaucratic red tape have deterred investment, further stalling economic growth. For small businesses, survival in this environment has become increasingly difficult. New Jersey's financial struggles are a cautionary tale about the dangers of long-term mismanagement. Without bold reforms, the state risks falling deeper into debt, leaving residents to bear the brunt of the crisis. Number 7. Mississippi. Mississippi has one of the lowest GDPs in the country, and its financial struggles are expected to worsen in 2025. A combination of high poverty rates and limited economic growth has left the state dependent on federal aid to cover basic expenses. This reliance makes Mississippi particularly vulnerable to federal budget cuts. The state's education system is underfunded, with many schools operating on bare-bones budgets. Infrastructure is also in dire need of repair, with crumbling roads and bridges creating safety concerns. Limited state revenue means these issues are unlikely to be addressed in the near future. Mississippi's workforce challenges are another hurdle, with many residents lacking access to higher education or job training. This has left the state struggling to attract industries that could boost its economy. The lack of well-paying jobs has fueled outmigration, further weakening the tax base. Healthcare access remains a significant issue, with many rural hospitals at risk of closure. Without adequate healthcare infrastructure, Mississippi faces challenges in improving the quality of life for its residents. Medicaid expansion debates continue to dominate the state's political landscape. For Mississippi, reversing its financial trajectory will require investments in education, healthcare, and workforce development. However, with limited resources, the state faces an uphill battle in 2025. Number 6. West Virginia. West Virginia faces mounting economic struggles in 2025, fueled by its reliance on declining industries like coal mining. The state's GDP growth remains stagnant, and its budget deficit continues to expand. With a population of less than 1.8 million, the tax base is too small to support its growing financial obligations. Job opportunities are limited, prompting many young residents to leave the state in search of better prospects. This outmigration has left behind an aging population, which places additional strain on public services like healthcare and pensions. The state's infrastructure also remains in poor condition, with little funding available for repairs. West Virginia's education system is severely underfunded, ranking near the bottom nationally. Many schools struggle to provide basic resources, making it difficult to prepare students for the modern workforce. This lack of investment perpetuates a cycle of poverty and economic stagnation. The state has attempted to diversify its economy through tourism and renewable energy, but progress has been slow. Federal funding has helped cushion the blow, but it's not enough to address the state's long-term fiscal challenges. Without significant investment and economic reform, West Virginia faces a tough road ahead. For residents, the lack of opportunity and underfunded public services make daily life increasingly difficult. West Virginia's financial struggles highlight the urgent need for economic diversification and stronger leadership. Number 5. Louisiana. Louisiana is facing a budget crisis in 2025, driven by decades of financial mismanagement and an over-reliance on oil and gas revenues. The state's debt levels are soaring, with over $20 billion in unfunded liabilities adding to the pressure. Natural disasters, including hurricanes, have further strained the state's resources. The state's tax structure has been a point of contention, with some of the highest combined sales taxes in the nation. However, these revenues are not enough to cover Louisiana's growing expenses, particularly in areas like healthcare and education. The Medicaid program, in particular, has been a financial burden. Infrastructure issues are rampant, with aging levees and roads requiring billions in repairs. The lack of funding for these critical projects puts residents at risk and deters businesses from investing in the state. Tourism, while significant, is not enough to offset these challenges. Louisiana's poverty rate, among the highest in the U.S., compounds its financial troubles. Many residents rely on public assistance, further straining the state's limited budget. The loss of skilled workers to other states has also weakened Louisiana's ability to attract new industries. Without drastic measures, Louisiana's financial future looks grim. The state must balance its budget while addressing systemic issues to avoid falling deeper into debt. Number 4. Alaska. Alaska's economy is heavily dependent on oil revenues, and with fluctuating prices, the state faces significant financial uncertainty in 2025. Declining oil production has reduced revenue streams, leaving the state with a $3 billion budget deficit. The permanent fund dividend, a cornerstone of Alaska's economy, is under pressure as the state struggles to balance its books. The high cost of living in Alaska adds to the burden, with residents paying more for essentials like food, fuel, and healthcare. Remote communities are particularly hard hit, with limited access to affordable goods and services. Many residents are relocating to the lower 48 states in search of better opportunities. Public services are being slashed as the state tries to cut costs. Education and healthcare funding have seen significant reductions, leaving many Alaskans without essential resources. The state's infrastructure, including its limited road network, also suffers from underinvestment. Tourism and fishing provide some economic relief, but these industries are seasonal and cannot replace the revenue lost from declining oil production. Efforts to diversify the economy have been slow, leaving Alaska vulnerable to further financial instability. For Alaska, 2025 will be a year of tough choices as the state grapples with how to fund public services and invest in its future without its once reliable oil revenues. Number 3. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's financial troubles are escalating in 2025, driven by mounting pension obligations and stagnant economic growth. The state's unfunded pension liabilities exceed $70 billion, creating a significant drain on its budget. Efforts to address the issue have been met with political gridlock, delaying meaningful reforms. Aging infrastructure is another major challenge for Pennsylvania, with roads, bridges, and public transit systems requiring billions in repairs. The state has increased gas taxes to fund these projects, but the additional costs have angered residents and businesses alike. Despite these efforts, progress remains slow. Pennsylvania's manufacturing sector, once a cornerstone of its economy, continues to decline. Many rural areas are struggling to attract new industries, leading to high unemployment and outmigration. Urban centers like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are faring better, but face their own fiscal challenges. Public schools and higher education institutions are also feeling the strain, with funding cuts leading to larger class sizes and reduced programs. This has sparked protests from educators and parents, putting additional pressure on state lawmakers. Pennsylvania's fiscal challenges highlight the need for bold reforms, but political divisions make progress difficult. Without significant changes, the state risks deeper financial trouble in the years ahead. Number 2. California. California may have the largest economy in the U.S., but it's also facing significant fiscal challenges in 2025. The state's budget is under strain due to rising costs for healthcare, education, and social services. With a debt of over $1.5 trillion, California's financial future is anything but secure. The high cost of living continues to drive residents out of the state, reducing its tax base. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco are struggling with homelessness and housing shortages, further complicating the state's budgetary priorities. Despite its tech-driven economy, income inequality remains a persistent issue. Wildfires and other natural disasters add to the financial burden, requiring billions in emergency response and infrastructure repairs. The state's efforts to combat climate change, while commendable, also come with significant costs. For many residents, these challenges make California an increasingly difficult place to live. Public services are under pressure, with schools and healthcare systems struggling to meet demand. The state's ambitious infrastructure projects, including high-speed rail, face delays and cost overruns, frustrating taxpayers. California's reliance on progressive tax policies has also created volatility in revenue collection. California's financial challenges underscore the need for better fiscal planning. While the state remains a global economic powerhouse, its long-term stability is far from guaranteed. Number 1. New York. New York tops the list of states going broke in 2025, with rising debt and declining population creating a perfect financial storm. The state's unfunded pension liabilities exceed $500 billion, making it one of the most indebted in the country. High taxes and a high cost of living continue to drive residents and businesses out of the state. New York City, the economic engine of the state, is grappling with its own budget deficit, driven by reduced tourism and remote work trends. The loss of high-income residents has further strained the state's tax revenue, leaving officials scrambling for solutions. Infrastructure projects, including the aging subway system, require billions in funding. Despite efforts to modernize, delays and cost overruns have left many projects incomplete. Public schools and healthcare systems are also underfunded, with residents feeling the impact of reduced services. The state's reliance on Wall Street for tax revenue creates volatility, with economic downturns leading to significant budget shortfalls. Efforts to attract new industries have been slow, leaving New York overly dependent on its financial sector. New York's financial challenges highlight the consequences of long-term mismanagement. Without major reforms, the state risks deeper economic instability, leaving residents to bear the brunt of the crisis. That's the list of the 10 U.S. states going broke in 2025. These states face mounting debt, shrinking populations, and tough decisions about their financial futures. What do you think of these challenges? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos for more insights. Thanks for watching, and as always, be kind to one another.